welcome back to Soup to Nuts. As you can see, I am in the kitchen. So you say to yourself, well, what is she going to be making today? Well, today I am going to be making some soup. Now, it's not winter, it's early spring, but soup, oh, I can even eat soup in the summertime. But anyways, this is the kind of soup that I really love to eat. And I thought, well, I make it all the time, and I was like, well, maybe I should make a video of it. So today, I'm going to make a video of my orzo soup. So let's get cooking. All right, so for this recipe, you need 8 cups of water. And I am going to be using the Better Than Bouillon vegetable broth. Now, I like to use this because I like the taste of it. Now, you can use whatever vegetable broth you like, but I think it really tastes good with this. So normally it's a teaspoon per cup. So I put in probably about, I think I put in like 2 tablespoons because I think 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon. If not, sometimes I put 2.5 tablespoons in. It's not going to make it any worse, you know, it's vegetable broth. All right, so I'm going to put in 2.5 tablespoons. All right, so the recipe calls for a cup of onion, a cup of celery, and a cup of carrots. So I'm just going to peel my onion. And it calls for 2 cloves of garlic, but I like a little extra garlic, so I already chopped it so it can start getting its medicinal properties. So when it goes in the soup, you know, you can have somewhat of your garlic going. All right, so here I have probably like 4 cloves of garlic. One was big and then the other ones were like really little. So I'm just gonna cut up my onion and get that going. And if you don't have a whole cup or whatever, that's okay. You know, do with what you have. My onion's a little crazy here. So I'm just gonna get this chopped up. If you have more, that's all right. If you have less, that's all right, because I'm using the Better Than Bouillon vegetable, and so that has all the same stuff in it. So you're just going to give your stock really good flavor. Now I say this is probably a cup. Might be a little bit more. It's about a cup. Over here I have 8 cups of water, and I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of my Better Than Bouillon. That's going to help flavor the soup. So I'm going to turn my stove on to high. I have a little bit of in my jar that I don't have enough of. So I'll just get more out of this one. Do a nice big helping. I'm going to put it in here. And get that going, come to a boil. And you don't have to wait for your water to boil. I'm just gonna put my onions in there. Okay. Get my onion in there. And my celery, I'm going to probably use 1, 2. I'm getting down to the end of my celery. So I'll just use 4 stalks. Like I said, it's not where you have to have it precise. And I'm going to take the leaves off. You probably could leave the leaves on. You know, I think I might do that. I'm going to trim the ends off. And I'm going to cut it in half so the pieces aren't so big. And then I'm just going to chop them. Now you can chop them however big or small you want. This is your soup, so it's to your liking. If you don't want celery in it, well, don't put celery. But celery gives soups a lot of flavor. it's known as the Trinity, you know, the onion, celery, and I don't know. All right, so all this is, it's more than a cup, but that's all right. More vegetables, the better. But you roughly want to get at least a cup, okay? Now, I don't take the skin off of my carrots because there's a lot of good, oh, let's not forget my garlic. Put that in there. Now I'm just gonna chop up my carrots. I do them in halves. And then let's just chop those. Now I like to cut them a little bit on the thinner side so that at least you know they'll get cooked. This was a pretty big carrot. So let me see. Yep, I only needed 1 carrot. Now I'm putting all that in my soup pot. Give me a spoon so I can stir around that bouillon because you want to get it melted in there. If you don't use the bouillon and you're going to use stock, then use 8 cups of vegetable stock. Since I'm using the bouillon, I used 8 cups of water. So I'm just going to try and get that bouillon all stirred in. You like my shirt? Got it at a Tractor Supply. I like it. All right, now the recipe calls for thyme and parsley fresh, but I don't have any of that. So I think it said 3 sprigs of thyme. So I'm just gonna do a little bit. Crush it in my hands, bring out the flavor. Okay, it called for 5 fresh sprigs of parsley, 2 sprigs of thyme, but you saw me just put in a little bit of that. So I'm just gonna pour in some parsley and 3 cloves of garlic, 2 bay leaves, 1, 2, and a little bit of salt. This is my pink Himalayan sea salt. That might look like it's a lot, but it's not really. And I'm just going to stir this around. You want to bring it to a boil and let it simmer for 20 minutes. Now you can see my soup is coming to a boil. So we're going to turn it down to simmer. So that's going to be my 1. And we're going to let that simmer, like I said, for 20 minutes. Because you want to get those vegetables to cook down. You want those vegetables to soften up. Put your lid on it, cover it, let it simmer. So while my soup is simmering, I have a can of cannellini beans. We need to drain them and rinse them so they have time to drain before you have to put it in after the 20 minutes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drain my beans and we'll be back. All right, it's been 20 minutes and so now we're gonna put in my orzo. You want a cup of orzo. This is what I use. Put it in there. You want to simmer it for 10 minutes. And we'll bring it back to a boil and then simmer it. And in 10 minutes, then we'll add in our beans and our other ingredients. So, all right, while we're waiting for that to simmer, I'm going to chop up my baby spinach. This is the kind I use. I'm just going to chop it up kind of fine, or, you know, so I'm not having big leaves all over. So when I put it in my soup, it'll just be like little pieces of spinach. No, you can put kale in there, but I have spinach, and so that's what we always use. See, I have my beans here. They've been rinsed and drained. Then we're going to need some oregano. This is the kind that I use, dried oregano. And so when my pot's done simmering, then we will be putting in the oregano, the can of beans, and my spinach. Now I think it calls for a cup, but I don't measure that. I just take out how much ever I want. The more greens you can get in there, the better. So that's what I had left out of my little spinach. So I'll see you when the orzo is done. All right, so it's been 10 minutes. If you used fresh thyme and parsley, you want to pull out the sprigs, they say, but since I did dry, of course they say in there. Now it's time to hunt for the bay leaves, because we need to pull the bay leaves out. And if you can't find them, don't worry about it. You can keep them in there until somebody puts it in their bowl of soup. All right, so now we're going to put in your drained cannellini beans, my spinach. This is where you want to bring it back up to a boil and then simmer it for 5 minutes. And then it calls for a teaspoon of fresh oregano. Since I don't have fresh, I'm just going to do a little bit, because they say what? If it's dry, do half of it. So half a teaspoon. I don't know, I'm just doing a little bit. You can always add in more. But basically what you're doing is you're getting the beans cooked. And as soon as that is done, your 5 minutes of warming up your beans, your soup is done. All right, so it's been 5 minutes. I'm gonna stir this around. Now let's plate this soup. Now this soup is very good for you, so you can have a lot. And believe me, I do eat a lot of this. I can eat 2 bowls. And the next day, the soup, the noodles, or the pasta I should say, soaks up the, oh, there's a bay leaf. I was the lucky winner with the bay. So there you go, folks. Orzo soup. It is so delicious. All right, so there you go, folks. Orzo soup. Thanks for watching. I hope you try this recipe, and comment down below and tell me how you like this recipe. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks. See you on the next one. Bye.